Mavericks Coffee again. pH and coffee. How do you know if your coffee truly is low acid? If you suffer from GERD or IBS or interstitial cystis or silent reflux or acid reflux or many of the gastrointestinal or gastroesophageal conditions, this is a really important question because there's a difference between enjoying a cup of coffee and regretting that you ever drank that cup of coffee. So this is important. So what I wanted to do today is share with you what you need to know, irregardless of where you go, that you can make the right decision on finding a coffee that works for you because it is low acid. So how do you find a good low acid coffee? The answer is the pH, and I'll explain to you why. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we're back. And as I mentioned, pH is the key. It's a tool that you can use to help you determine whether or not a coffee is low acid before you ever drink it and before you ever buy it. Okay, when I started low acid coffee 20 years ago, there was very few purveyors of low acid coffee. I mean, you could really count them on less than one hand. There was just a couple. Since then, there's been a tremendous growth in companies that provide low acid coffee, which is a good thing. I love having options. What we need to know is some coffees aren't low acid. They might just have a little less acid. And keep in mind too, is that there is no universal standard. Just like it most other things, anybody can say anything. So it's good to know how to determine whether or not somebody's making a claim, whether or not that claim is true. So when we get to pH, if you didn't pay any attention in high school, like I really didn't, but I've come to now see the significance of it. pH simply is a measure of the acidity or the alkalinity of a substance or a liquid. Okay, we're only going to be concerning ourselves with half of the scale today. The numbers are basically 0 to 7. 7 is the number on the scale that is neutral. We think of water as neutral. And if you got down to the other end of the scale, you would have a 0, 1. You might be thinking down on the low end of the scale, you might have battery acid around 1 or 2. Okay, believe it or not, coffee is super acidic. So let's talk about the scale, the pH scale. If you're looking for a coffee, it has been my experience and the experience of my customers that on that scale from 0 to basically 7, if you do not have a coffee that is 5.5 or greater, you don't have a low acid coffee. Again, there's no universal standard. This is just Ryan out here saying this is what I've seen. This is my experience. Okay? But the scale, the pH scale, think of it this way. Think of it if you wanted to know how wide something was or how tall something was, how long something was, what would you do? You get out the tape measure and you would measure it. So what I'm telling you is on the pH scale, if the coffee, the level of concentration in your coffee is not 5.5 or greater, you really don't have a low acid coffee. Now you have to think about this on the scale. The higher the number is the better. So as you are going from 5, or think about this, most of the coffees you're drinking today, if it's a Bucks or it's a Folgers, 5.7, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, they don't even approach 5. Now if you understand the nature, the logarithmic nature of the pH scale, I know it's a fancy word, but what happens is every 0.1 increase, so if you go from a 4.7 to a 4.8 to a 4.9 to a 5, you think of it in those 0.1. If you take a coffee, let's say you take our coffee that is our lightest roast, which means it'll have the most acid at a 5.5 or 5.6, and you compare that to a coffee that say has a 4.9 or 4.8, our coffee will have 70% less acid. And when you're looking at some of our other coffees where the pH is over 6, almost 6.5, our coffee literally has like 120, 130% less acid. Okay, now the point of this pH scale is that you're getting a measure. The scale is objective. It's not subjective. what's the best Mexican restaurant, what's the best food. Those are all subjective. It's taste and preference. The beauty of pH is that it is objective. So you can take any coffee and you can simply have it measured. You can have it scored where it lies on the pH scale. And what I'm telling you, if it does not lie on the pH scale, 5.5 or greater, meaning it's closer to neutral. It's closer to that coveted 7 where water is, which is neutral. If you suffer from these gastrointestinal or gastroesophageal issues, an acid is a problem. Every time you go up that scale 0.1%, you're getting 10% less. That's why I say 5.5 or greater, don't even bother with it. Now, it may work for some people, and that's fine. If you find one that works for you and it's less than 5.5, great. That's not a problem, free country. But what I'm wanting to point out to you is the pH is a tool, it's a measure that you can use. Now, let's say that you found a coffee and you found out what the pH is, which can be difficult because most people like to make a claim, but sometimes they don't show you the proof. So one of the things that we like to do is we roast a coffee. We have a third-party independent lab. They drive to our warehouse. They pick up the coffee and then they take it back to their lab and then they analyze it and then they send us what we call an analytical report. I'm going to be doing a video on reviewing an analytical report and what to look for. But they send us that report. We then take that report. It's from a third-party independent verifier. We take that report and we post it on the website. So it's good to trust, but you want to verify. So if you have a coffee roaster that says, oh, we have a score of 6 on our pH, wow, that's a really great score. But what sometimes happens is they use other methods. They don't use an independent lab with high-end commercial equipment. They might use a litmus piece of paper that you can get down at the local drugstore, and it's like a little test. You just poke it inside the water or inside the coffee, and it comes back. I mean, it gives you a general idea, but it's really not all that accurate. And if it's done by an independent lab, you don't have to worry about having any thumbs on a scale, if you get what I mean. So what we try to do is just make sure that once we roast the coffee, it leaves our hands and it comes back, and the third party verifies everything from the day it leaves here to when we get back to report. So my statement to you would be, when you're looking for a low acid coffee, it doesn't have to be a Mavericks Coffee. Go find a low acid coffee that you like the flavor of, or coffee that you're interested in, and check before you buy. Check to see if their pH score is listed. If it is, great. And I'll tell you this, if they post it on the website, that is even better. If you find an analytical report from a coffee roaster posted on their website, that is great, and they're doing a great service to you, and you should really consider their coffee. So the question in the beginning was, how do you find a great low acid coffee? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand the pH. And then you need to understand what the number means to you on the pH scale. If it's not 5.5 or greater, be cautious. It may work, but it may not work. The better number you get, the higher probability that if you're struggling with acid, that it's going to be effective for you. Okay? And then just keep in mind, that's just my recommendation. We've had a number of people that said that course is the case. But the nice thing about having our coffees, which are low acid, is that you don't have to get our dark roast. Some roasters will have coffees that do achieve a 5.5, but you're stuck with a French roast or an Italian roast. We have light roasts that are 5.5. We have flavored coffees that are 5.5. So I hope that was helpful to you. I'm gonna be doing some more videos on selecting coffees, on pH, and the next video I'll be doing is understanding acidity in coffee. What do we actually mean? What type of acids are in coffee, and what's that doing to your body? I hope this was helpful to you. You have a great day. Thanks for listening. If you do have questions, by the way, feel free to reach me at sales@mavericks.com, or you can just go on our website and check.